One of the main things that we see new and emerging artists getting wrong is that they are overly focused on trying to get onto Spotify playlists. And one of the most common questions that gets asked is how can they get themselves playlisted? It feels as though getting onto Spotify playlists has become a new benchmark for success. So before we begin delving into this, let's just clear up one thing first. What exactly is your goal and what does success mean to you? So if as an artist, success means making a living from your own music and building an artist career, then just being playlisted on Spotify and even having a reasonable number of streams is not going to achieve the type of success that you think it will. Now obviously there's nothing wrong with being playlisted. You want to be playlisted, and yes, it should be part of your ongoing marketing and promotion. But you need to develop a much wider strategy than this if you're going to have any real tangible success. So getting your music playlisted is just one element of your music marketing, and you cannot expect that just by doing this one thing in isolation of all the many other things that you need to do are going to bring you any real success. There's just so much more to it. It can take years to build and develop and launch an artist's career. And all playlisting does in isolation is just bring some exposure to one single that you've released to an unknown audience. You need to have so much else in place and so many parts of a strategy lined up that would not only increase your chances of getting playlisted in the first place, but would also increase the benefit to you should you get playlisted. So if we were to consider success to be the destination of a journey, then there's a series of steps that you would need to take to reach that destination. And being playlisted is just one very small step along that path which you need to take, and only at a very certain point in time. Before anything else, and this should almost go without saying, you need to get your music right. This is before you even think about even releasing any music at all. And by this I'm not talking about the quality of music. Although yes, that's really important, and yes, your music does need to be brilliant. But you also need a depth of music, a wider set of singles or a body of work, so that you can release numerous singles over a period of time strategically, so that you can build career momentum. To do this, your music needs to be coherent and have its own identity. This is a whole huge area of artist development, which the vast majority of new emerging artists don't tend to focus on at all. And yet, if you were to focus on this, it'd be far more beneficial to you than worrying about trying to get onto Spotify playlists. There's a whole variety of musical and artist development strategies that relate to this area of improvement for artists, and it forms a significant part of what we do when we manage artists or when we're delivering artist coaching. Most artists have a tendency of assuming that their music's ready to release just because they like it and they think it's good. But the strategy for getting your music right goes far beyond this basic starting point. Then once the music is right, you need to develop your artist brand, which is a whole nother area of development and strategy that needs your focus and is often another step on that path to success which lots of new emerging artists miss out. Then you need to develop your social media, your online presence and your website. All these things, along with your marketing strategies, require really careful consideration and consistent choice. Artists also need to develop their live performance and begin building a fan base. Alongside this, you need strategies of how you're going to develop your audience. How are you going to find your fans and how are you going to connect them to your music and to you as an artist? Next, and very importantly, you're going to need to build your own set of contacts within the music industry itself. And yes, some of these will be playlist editors, but you need hundreds more in addition to this if you're going to have any kind of proper campaign of any significance. You need contacts with bloggers and radio and booking agents and promoters and labels and so on. How are you going to find these contacts? And how do you pitch yourself to them? And what do you say? And when should you pitch yourself to them during the cycle of your campaigns? All of these questions we are rarely asked by new artists, and yet they would all be far more beneficial than just focusing on getting playlisted. Then once you're about to release music, you need to consider a much wider strategic release campaign. What singles are you going to release? Why are you going to release those singles? What would be the timings of your releases? All of these things are a much wider strategy that you need to focus on, and playlist pitching is one very small part of this strategy that fits into something that will cover your pre-release activities, your post-release marketing and promotion, and so on. And again, there's a whole area of knowledge and strategy relating to your release campaigns and your marketing and promotion. And I could literally talk for hours about this and give you ideas and strategies. The point I'm trying to make is that playlist pitching is only a very small part of everything else that you need to do. I've given only just a little glimpse here of all the other things that are required if you're going to achieve some success. And these are all things that we would have in place as managers of artists and when we're coaching artists before they would release any music. And I'd really recommend that you think about all of these other aspects of getting them in place for yourself too, and not just focusing on some very narrow goals regarding pitching yourself for playlists. So although you may find some artists who've been playlisted on Spotify and it's been a catalyst for them to achieve some success, for most artists, this is not a realistic path for achieving your potential and getting the sort of success that you really want. To achieve something sustainable requires hard work, knowledge and strategies, and concentrating on some of those key areas that I've already spoken about, of which playlist pitching is just one very small part of a much bigger picture. I assure you, you're going to massively increase your chances of success if you concentrate on some of these key areas that I've already mentioned. So you're not wrong to want to be on Spotify playlists and to try to get yourself onto Spotify playlists, but this is only one small part of a much bigger area of your development and overall strategy. Best of luck with your artist journey, and if you found this video useful, then please don't forget to like, follow or subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.